The Wooden Cabin, Chapter 1. The snow was falling harder than usual that evening in Vermont. The roads turned white, and the wind carried a chill that made the trees bend and whisper. Inside a small wooden cabin, a woman named Clara Hayes sat alone by the fireplace. Her hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had already gone cold. She had moved there only a few months ago, hoping to escape the noise of her past life. A life filled with heartbreak and broken promises, and too many memories that hurt to remember. Clara was in her mid-30s, graceful but weary, the kind of woman whose eyes had once sparkled with dreams, but now carried a quiet tiredness. She had spent years giving her heart to someone who didn't value it. And when it all fell apart, she decided to leave everything behind. The cabin became her fresh start. Peace, solitude, and a place to learn how to live without the noise of disappointment. That night, the wind howled louder than usual, rattling the windows as if trying to remind her that she wasn't entirely alone. She tried to ignore it, pulling her blanket tighter, pretending the storm outside was far away. But then came a sound she wasn't expecting. A knock. Firm. Steady. She froze, and the road leading to her cabin rarely saw visitors, especially during a storm like this. For a few seconds, she thought she had imagined it. But the knock came again, louder this time. Clara stood, her heart thudding softly in her chest. Every rational thought told her not to open the door, but there was something about the sound, a mix of urgency and calm, that made her hesitate. Slowly, she walked to the door, her hand trembling slightly as she reached for the handle. When she pulled it open, the cold air rushed in, taking her breath away. Standing there was a man she had never seen before. Snow covered his shoulders. He was tall, broad, dressed in a heavy jacket that looked soaked through. His face carried someone who'd been fighting the weather for too long, but his eyes, those deep, calming eyes, they were kind. "Sorry to bother you, ma'am," he said, voice steady but soft. "My truck broke down just down the road. I tried to call for help, but there's no signal out here. Could I stay here for a bit? Just until the tow truck arrives?" Clara hesitated. She wasn't used to strangers. Not anymore. But there was something about the way he spoke. Polite, respectful. That made her guard drop just slightly. "You can come in," she finally said, stepping aside. He entered carefully, as if not wanting to track too much snow into the warm little room. The firelight danced on his face, showing a few lines around his eyes, signs of a man who had lived a hard, working life. "Thank you," he said, taking off his gloves. "I didn't mean to scare you." "You didn't," she replied quietly, though her voice betrayed a touch of nervousness. "It's just not too many people come around here." He smiled. That small, reassuring kind of smile that makes you feel safe, even if you don't know why. "I'm Ethan Brooks," he said, extending a hand. "Didn't mean to intrude on your evening." "Clara," she replied, shaking his hand briefly. "It's fine. I'm just surprised anyone found their way up this hill tonight." "Ethan," he chuckled softly. "Yeah, I wasn't planning on getting stuck either." "Vermont winters don't play fair." They shared a small laugh, and for a moment the tension in the room faded. Clara motioned toward the fire. "You can come sit. Warm yourself up. I'll make some coffee." He nodded gratefully. As she poured the steaming liquid into 2 mugs, she found herself studying him from the corner of her eye. His hands were rough, strong, the kind that told stories of work done honestly. There was a calm about him, the kind that came from someone who has seen both good and bad in life, but never let either change who they are or who they were. When she handed him the coffee, he thanked her, his fingers brushing hers briefly. Just a fleeting touch, but enough to make her pulse quicken for reasons she didn't understand. For the next hour, they talked quietly while the storm howled outside. Ethan told her he was a carpenter and that he built homes, furniture, and sometimes fixed old cabins like hers. He spoke about how he loved working with wood, how it reminded him that even broken things could become beautiful again if handled with care. Claire listened intrigued. It had been so long since someone spoke to her without judgment or hidden meaning. He didn't pry into her past or ask why she lived alone. He just talked, and she found herself responding. Her words flowing easier than they had in months. At one point, he noticed a photo frame sitting on the shelf, a picture of Clara with a younger woman, both smiling. Your sister? Claire nodded slowly. She lives in Boston. She keeps asking me to move back. But I needed quiet for a while. He didn't push for more, just nodded, understanding without needing details. That simple respect touched her more than he probably realized. Time moved quickly. The storm outside grew fierce, but the cabin felt warm, safe, almost alive again. For the first time in a long time, Clara didn't feel the weight of her loneliness pressing down on her. She caught herself smiling more than once, especially when Ethan laughed softly at his own stories. Eventually, the sound of tires crunching through the snow broke their conversation. Ethan glanced out the window and saw headlights. His tow truck had finally arrived. Well, he said, setting down his empty mug. Looks like my ride is here. Clara stood. A strange sense of disappointment tugged at her. Guess you should get going before the storm gets worse. Yeah, he replied, slipping his gloves back on. But thank you, Clara. You didn't have to open that door tonight, she said faintly. It's nothing. He paused at the door, turning to look back at her one last time. It's not nothing, he said quietly. Sometimes letting someone in makes all the difference. Then he stepped out into the cold, leaving only the faint sense of pine and the warmth of his words behind as Clara closed the door.